Hey everybody, how you doing? I have a video for you today. It is the beginner's guide on how to identify all the parts on a Zippo and what they're called. The whole purpose of this video is for when people are in the chat rooms describing problems they're having with their Zippo, or they're trying to fix something, or just any common knowledge they want to talk about their Zippo in the chat rooms. I know a lot of people do that. They know what everything's called. So I'm going to start it off for you here. I'm using my 1992 solid silver employees only rare Zippo, given to me by Anthony Amato. Nice walnut box. And this is the solid silver. So we're going to start right at the beginning. There's two separate pieces. This is the insert, this is the case. You can just think of that as the engine and that as the housing for the engine. Zippo will replace any insert, it doesn't matter. So you have a warranty on the insert all the time, and then you get to keep your case and slide new ones in and out. So let that be known. So before we get to the insert, it's a little more complex and has more parts. We're going to talk first about the case. In this video, I'm going to go over what every part is and what it actually does. So that way you have a full understanding by the time this video is done of what everything is. So we have the Zippo itself. This is the case. This is called the bottom stamp. On the bottom you will see many different variations of these depending on what year it is. There's a date code chart you could check out. This is the lid. And then we would call this basically the front and the back, because when the hinge on being on the left would make this the front side. Like this is the front face whenever the hinge is on the left, right? So that meaning hinge on the right, this would be the back side. And then usually this is called the spine. This is the edge where the hinge is on. And then you could just call this where you open it from. And now when we get into here, this part's a little tricky, right? Every Zippo is going to have this, and it's heavily debated what that is actually called. A lot of people have a lot of different names for it. I've been talking to guys for 30 years, and it seems everybody has a different name for what it's actually called. You can call it a cam catch, you can call it a cam latch, you can call it a cam switch, cam receiver, like a cam catcher. It goes on and on what you can call it. I like the cam switch because all it does is switch the cam. Switches the cam from closed, that's closed, to open, right? So I do like calling that piece a cam switch. And then so it's attached to the hinge here. You can see your regular basic 5-barrel hinge is always going to be far left, far right, and center. And then on the inside you'll have just the two holding on. This piece is called the hinge pin in there. There's a pin in there, you can see it. It's called the hinge pin. And you could call these hinge rings or barrels, doesn't matter. You could call them each individually a barrel. That's why you hear the term a lot: 5-barrel hinge, 4-barrel hinge, and 3-barrel hinge. And I'll show you what all those hinges are. And you probably heard outside hinge, and maybe you're not familiar, you don't know what any of this is. I'm going to show you right now. So like I said, you can call those hinge rings or hinge barrels, whatever you want to call them. And then, so an outside hinge is this. The whole hinge is operational outside. And this is a 3-barrel. You can see there's only 3 spots. There's only 3 hinge rings to hold the pin. So that's what makes it a 3-barrel. This is my everyday carry right now. And what makes it different also is you can see it's not attached to the hinge. See that? There's no inside piece there, no nothing. It's a complete outside hinge. Now, you would think, you've probably heard of the 32 replica, you think it's an outside hinge. It's actually not an outside hinge. These two pieces are made to replicate an outside hinge. They do nothing, they're just welded on just for show. As you can see here, it's a fully operational hinge with a regular cam switch. And then there's also the 41. There's the 1941. It is a 4-barrel. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll hear that called a 4-barrel. In my opinion, it is the best and most durable, strongest hinge. I happen to like it a lot. And I'm getting to love this 35. It's really starting to grow on me, and the yellow flame insert fits in it perfect. All right, so that's basically everything about the case. And now we're going to move on to the inside of the Zippo, the insert. And there's a deliberate reason why I chose to use this silver Zippo, because it has a flat stock insert. And I'm going to show you a few things. You probably heard people say flat stock insert. What is a flat stock insert? Well, in the 90s and earlier, all the Zippo inserts came like this. It is completely flat here. A newer insert actually looks like this. It has these things. These are called dimples, right? So when you hear someone say a dimpled insert, that's what they're talking about. Flat stock, they're talking about no dimples. But you could still get flat stock inserts from Zippo. You can get the 1941 replica. It looks like there's dimples there because I think the machine, but that's actually flat there. This is still flat stock. They make the 41 replica insert flat stock, and they make the 35 replica insert also flat stock. You can see here there's markings there, but it's completely flat when you rub your thumb on it. And you'll know they have you'll know the difference between a 41 insert and a 35 insert. They both have hollow rivets. I'm going to get to all this in a second, but the 35 has 16 hole chimney. There's 8 on each side, and then the 1941 only has 7 on each side. It's a 14 hole chimney. So that is the difference. I'll keep those there for any reference point if I need to come back to them. So on the inside on the Zippo, we start right away. This is called the cam. This piece right here is called the cam. I have it by itself here. That's what it looks like on its own. I have many Zippo parts. And then it is attached to something called the cam spring. This is a dirty insert. You won't be able to see the inside. So I'll show you the inside of the 41. You can see in there that brass ring rivet. That is called the cam rivet because it's a specific rivet that goes on the cam. It's that rivet there that I dropped. That rivet holds in the cam spring. This is the cam spring. This is what a cam spring looks like. The cam spring goes in there, and then you can see here, this operates off this spring. That's what gives it the tension, is this spring. And sometimes you need to replace them, this and that, on your older inserts when you are trying to restore them. So this is the cam spring. This is called the chimney here. On older models, they didn't do it for the 41 replica, but the real 41 would actually have a closed chimney there. There'd be pieces of metal covering that. It's called a closed chimney if you ever hear that. And then inside you're going to have one of these. This is the flint tube. You always hear it too referred to as the flint tube. It is that long. It actually comes up past the Zippo. You could see it right there. That is part of the flint tube. And you could call this the flint spring or the flint screw or the screw spring. A lot of people do. And that comes right out. You unscrew it. And there should be a flint in there. And a lot of the times people think that this is a flint. You would be surprised how many people commented on my channel and said their Zippo ran out of flint, or it's just not striking anymore and there's a flint in there. And I showed them this and they said, yeah, that's exactly it. I was like, that's not a flint. That's just the piece that pushes on the flint. When you open this up, a flint should come out of there. Like on this Zippo right here, there's a flint in here. When you open this up, you pop it out, see, flint came right out. This is the separate piece. And it's best to change it before it gets jammed in there. If you notice it starts getting harder to turn. I need to take that flint out anyways. I won't be using this insert. So those are the names you could call for that. And like I said, these rivets are for the cam spring. And now the cam itself actually has different pieces. I have 2 of them right here for when I need to do repairs. You could still call these rivets. You can call them cam rivets. Make sure you just don't call them cam spring rivets, because then people will think different. Just the rivet for the cam, or you can call them the cam pin. It's more like a pin that goes in there than a rivet. And this too, you call it the flint wheel rivet. This is the flint wheel right here, or you could call it the striker. And it's attached by, basically, you call it the rivet. Like I showed you back before, they all used to be hollow. You could see right through them. See that? They changed those, I think, in 1963 or something. That might be for Canada. Maybe in the States they did it earlier. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they changed from the hollow rivet because the reason why they changed from the hollow rivet is because the amount of pressure from constantly striking, these would bend the rivet and they would be loose and wobbly all the time. So they switched to a more harder style, a solid pin that goes in there, and it does work much better and does last way longer. It was a good upgrade, but the hollow rivet it looks great though. I have to admit, I prefer the hollow rivet over the full pin. So now this will be the felt, and there's cotton in there, and then obviously that's your wick. But I know for some people maybe it's not so obvious. But those are all the parts on a Zippo. I hope that video was useful. So when you're in the chat and you want to talk to your friends about what's going on, or you're trying to talk to someone who knows a lot about Zippos, they'll know what every piece you are talking about now. I hope that was helpful for everyone. I'll see you in the next one.